Vaush's boy toy, okay, Vaush's boy toy, Conyer, all right, made a video about ContraPoints that we stopped in the middle, all right. I plan on finishing it today, and then maybe we'll watch Willie Mack's video on the Ethan Klein drama. All right, that's the plan. And then we have a loner box video on ContraPoints. Okay, so we'll take a look at that. I believe that even though Hutch has debated, I don't think any of these debates are particularly interesting. But yeah. Oh, hello, Puppy Wallet. Welcome. But anyway, yeah. Okay, cool. Let's get to it. Let's see. All right.
As people not in Palestine, not in Israel, if all we can do is try to use our voices to try to move our elected representatives to actually represent us and use their power that we gave them to stop the atrocities from occurring, what are we meant to do? What is your better option? What is your better strategy that you...
Also, actually, you know what we're gonna do? I want to actually see, and I'm a little curious. Hey, dude, Visual Abstract, thank you so much for donating $5 via Streamlabs. And also Misaki, thank you so much for donating $20 via Streamlabs. All right, with the message, someone please out-oil me. Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate that. I do appreciate that. Actually, hold on, let me see. Can I repeat this? Nope, I cannot. Oh well. Alright. But yeah, thank you so much. Misaki says, someone please out-oil me. You've heard Misaki, guys. Okay, someone has to out-oil $20, okay? Out-oil Misaki, alright? $20, you gotta beat that. Also, Visual Abstract, thank you again for the $5, okay? I appreciate that. Please, I'm not Saudi. That's true. Okay? Yes. Alright, thank you guys. Thank you. Alright. More money goes to me because Streamlabs only takes away 2%. Okay? Anyway, thank you. Alright.
propose. I'd love to hear about it. But like this is, it's just it for me, in my interpretation, it drips with so much malice. It's very gross, and it's a weaponization, in my view, of the Palestinian people that have perished because of the far-right state of Israel's ongoing genocide of them. It's
Oh yeah, as I was saying, I am planning on covering Epstein shit. Okay, I am considering starting to cover Epstein shit. Yeah. Because at first I wasn't interested, but then I watched a little bit of coverage on it, and then I realized this might be interesting. So,
disgusting.
yeah.
Like, this is... If anything here is going to make you lose respect for her, I think it should be this. Because save giving your own thoughts on better...
Did you see the coffee vids? No. Which is why I am going to react to them on stream first time, okay?
strategy, since the critique here seems to primarily be about left-wing strategy in opposition to the genocide, you might as well have not said anything at all. Because like I say, you just end up saying shit you probably shouldn't have. 2, it may have slightly contributed to the re-election of Trump, guaranteeing the US will put no diplomatic pressure on Netanyahu for at least 4 years, and making protests against Israel both much riskier and less effective. Trump is also incidentally a menace to me and basically everyone I care about. A perfectly enlightened being would feel no bitterness about this, but I do. And there she just tells you why she made the post to begin with. But we'll focus on these 2 things. There's 2 things in here that I think are important. For one, she says it may have slightly contributed to the re-election of Trump. It's possible. Should we just have said nothing about the genocide then? I guess you could make like a utilitarian argument for like, wow, if this supposed hypothetical were to come to pass, where we didn't make a lot of noise about the active and ongoing televised, live-streamed ethnic cleansing of Palestinians.
Dude, dude, every single time it's like a word salad with these people. It's always like the most fucking long-ass winded word salad I've ever heard. Like every single time it's like the live-streamed, live, premium 4K HD. Like it's almost as if they're it feels as though almost though that they're praising it, right? It's almost as if they want it to happen in the first place. Like that's why they give all of these like descriptors before. It just makes it feel so much more bad faith, right? Because if you just simply called it a genocide, if you just like simply called something like this a genocide, wouldn't that be enough? Wouldn't it just be enough to just call it a genocide and leave it at that? Why do you have to give 5 descriptors every single fucking time, right? It just makes no sense. Grima Wormton, that's what he looks like. Dude, now that you've said it, I think I might make a thumbnail. I might make a thumbnail comparing him to Grima Wormton. Fuck! That's a good idea. Actually, I'm probably gonna do that. It's because they fucked up and jumped straight to genocide from the get-go. Yeah. Anyway.
In the hope of hopefully maybe Kamala Harris winning the 2024 election and being slightly better than Trump on the issue, though Joe Biden proudly called himself a Zionist and really seemed to be in it for the love of the game, frankly, when it came to being okay with more or less anything Israel did to the Palestinians. I don't know that that's a bet I would have made. I think the ideal would have been if
Grima had a better fit. Dude, Grima slayed. Okay, this person does not slay. What is that? A fucking amazing Spider-Man medallion, several chains, and a fucking shirt?
People in power, the Democrats, actually campaigned on being against the atrocities that the state of Israel was committing. And given the change in polling when it comes to American people being against what Israel is doing to the Palestinians, that may have actually made it more likely that Kamala Harris beat Donald Trump in that election. I have to imagine that that's a thought that ContraPoints has entertained. And in my view, that's the ideal outcome. That's the bet I would have taken.
Wait, what? Can I get a repeat on that?
The atrocities that the state of Israel was committing. And given the change in polling when it comes to American people being against what Israel is doing to the Palestinians, that may have actually made it more likely that Kamala Harris beat Donald Trump in that election. I have to imagine that that's a thought that ContraPoints...
Wait, what? How? Wait, what? Sorry.
Was doing to the Palestinians, that may have actually made it more likely that Kamala Harris beat Donald Trump in that election. I have to imagine that that's a thought that ContraPoints has entertained. And in my view, that's the ideal outcome. That's the bet I would have taken.
Wait. The ideal outcome is advocating for Palestine like a fucking drunk retard who can barely speak, and you're like a fucking you're in a fucking vegetative state, and you literally act like a fucking downy retard in front of like everyone, and you just have like literally no fucking self-awareness whatsoever, as just screaming and shouting and singing at the top of your lungs and calling Gaza Haza. You really think that that is gonna help Kamala Harris beat Donald Trump? I'm sorry. What is this delusion? What, you think most Americans even care about Israel versus Palestine? And don't give me the polls. Don't give me the fucking polls, because you're already selecting for people who care about the issue in the first place. Or you're making people care about the issue in the first place by asking them a question that they are forced to answer. That doesn't mean that they prioritize the issue above everything else. Dude, I hate it whenever someone makes the argument that, yeah, this could have helped Kamala Harris win over Donald Trump. Again, hindsight Andy, okay? This is hindsight Andy shit, right? Hindsight Andy shit. 100% this is hindsight Andy shit. He's basically saying that ContraPoints is correct. Trump won because of pro-Pally leftists. Oh, okay. If that's the case, wait, are you sure that's what he said? Fuck me, dude.
Which is, once again, hope that the amount of noise that people who are against the atrocities are making pressure the Democrats into actually running on being against the genocide.
No. He's saying the ideal outcome. Isn't the ideal outcome to advocate for Palestine and you beat Donald Trump? Isn't that the ideal outcome?
Side, and then therefore that hopefully aiding in their defeat of Donald Trump. That's the bet I would have taken. It didn't work out, but that's because the Joe Brandon administration and all the hangers-on that carried over into the Kamala Harris administration were about it, right? They're very about the Zionist project, the pro-ethno-state project, the colonialist project that is the nation-state of Israel and its expansionist goals in the region.
He's saying if she had went along with pro-Pallies, then they could have won. Yeah, that's what I'm saying too. Yes.
A variety of reasons for this. I think the primary one is power, obviously. Having a state in that region that is your ally, supposedly, confers a lot of geopolitical power for whatever political party is.
So the flip side is that Trump won because a pro-Pally lefty is not voting for her? Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure.
In power in the United States of America. To me, that's likely the reason why a lot of people that have power would support it. Maybe that's like wishful thinking on my part, that it isn't a kind of Islamophobic, bigoted, want to see harm done to the Muslim population, the Arab population, even the Palestinian Jewish population, like the most far-right pro-ethno-state people would. My hope is that that's not the case, and it's just like, oh, well, there's a lot of geopolitical power here, and there's also a lot of political pressure that could backfire on me for being against the atrocities. In my view, I just think the better bet for the left was maybe Democrats. Like, even let a fucking Palestinian lawmaker speak at the DNC, for Christ's sake, man. They even stood in the way of Palestinians speaking at the DNC. Like, they brought on the family members of the hostages that were taken during October 7th in that heinous terroristic tragedy, and even those people were...
Okay, so at least he condemns it, which is a better step. All right, which is a better... But I wish he would say... Dude, I wonder if these people are rape deniers. I don't know if they are. Because this is the Vaush orbit. This isn't the Hassan orbit. This is the Vaush orbit. It's slightly different. But it's all... more. But it's always about, like, falling in line.
Or in favor of a cessation of the far-right state of Israel's actions against the Palestinians than the fucking Democratic Party was. There's so many hypotheticals up in the air. And given the change in polling, it seems likely to me that the safer bet was be against the genocide as the Democratic Party. And have that and the immense amount of on-the-ground energy that specific issue had carry over into votes for the Democrats in order to aid in their victory against Donald Trump and be slightly less bad, which is still better than nothing. As far as I'm aware, a lot of the people in Palestine who have suffered under these atrocities and under the apartheid state preferred that Kamala Harris won over Donald Trump, for obvious reasons. Like, you can have your gripes about so-called harm reduction when it comes to electoralism in the United States of America, but like when your people are actively being bombed and maimed and you have close to zero recourse...
Dude, saying that Kamala Harris would have won if she advocated for Palestine harder is such a cope. It would be nothing but a waste of time, and to encourage infighting with the party, while Trump always has like a coherent message, and their entire coherent message is fall in line with Trump and nothing else. Like, they have no other policy except fall in line with Trump. That's all they have to do. Meanwhile, we have to convince everyone that we are better than Trump. It's just so hard. It's so hard already. It's so hard already to win over Trump. Right? Like, fuck, you know?
You're gonna want even the most minimal possible, obviously the maximum possible, but like even any small percentage of harm to be reduced in that regard. I think that's totally understandable. It's not to say all Palestinians would believe that, but it's my understanding that very many of them who have been asked about it preferred that Harris would win. But I think secondarily, and this is the thing that it's somewhat difficult to talk about, but I think it's very important. The second part that she mentions here in section 4, subsection 2, is, quote, Trump is also, incidentally, a menace to me and basically everyone I care about. That's a broad, amount of people, I'm sure, that she cares about that are affected. You have black and brown people, poor people, people with disability, the elderly, gay people, and so on and so forth. But obviously, whether, it was her intent or not, she is known as, in our current political system, a trans person first and foremost. because it's such a politicized by the enemies of trans existence categorization of person. That's the first thing most people are going to think about. And I assume that the queer aspect there is one of the major parts of those feelings that she has, which in my view are completely valid. By the way, the fear that another Trump administration would be absolutely heinous in its violence against trans and queer people, the stripping away of their medical care, access to the medical care, their ability to exist comfortably in public, etc., that's a very valid fear and a real hurt to bear witness to. I suffer it every day. As somebody who talks about politics very frequently,
You're trans? You look like, dude, you look like Walmart Grima Wormton. We don't call Grima Wormton a girl. Grima Wormton isn't even the she they or a they them, okay? Like you look like someone tried to draw Grima Wormton from memory. Okay? Don't you have a King Vaush Theoden that you need to whisper into?
and consumes a lot of it. As a trans person myself, whose access to my own HRT is in question, I get it. It's
yeah, I can tell you haven't been taking HRT. Don't worry. I can tell you haven't been taking HRT. I can tell you've been having some access issues. Yeah. Yeah, I can tell you've been having some access issues of late.
a real hurt. It's a real pain. But in my view, you cannot allow for that to affect your views on other...
By the way, how could you say that you're trans in any way without trying? Like what is this, dude? You look like any other guy from like the 80s who are like, who is like in love with the fucking peace movement or whatever.
Issues that you care about. And I think this is just speculation. Obviously, I have no way to know. It seems to me that the motivations for making this post, the ones that she hasn't explicitly laid out, are A, not wanting to get shit from her audience about not having given a statement, which is fair enough, even though I think there are way better ways to go about that issue, and B, fear and hurt you experience as a trans and queer person at the thought and then eventual sight of the far right's actions against the existence of...
I thought not all trans people needed gender-affirming care. Listen, I'm just making fun of this motherfucker, okay? Because fuck this person. And also, by the way, these people don't actually care about trans issues, okay? They don't. They just don't, all right? So I don't even know why, like, this person is being this disingenuous, okay? If you actually cared about trans issues, you would actually prioritize that above Gaza, okay? I'm serious. Yeah. I do actually think Palestinians dying is preferable to, like, I don't know, genociding trans people or something, like something that they should care about, because according to them, they believe a genocide is happening for trans people. If you believe that is the case, so you're measuring the genocide of trans people against the genocide of Gazans. What can you please tell me how you weigh these two? Tell me how this is supposed to work. You can't have your cake and eat it too, okay?
The group that you happen to be a part of. It seems to me that that's one of the bigger impetuses there for this post, especially in the way that it's worded, in the rhetoric that is used. And, you know, she goes on, a perfectly enlightened being would feel no bitterness about this, but I do. And I think it's fine to feel bitterness about it. But I think as a public figure, as somebody with the amount of influence you have, whether you like it or not, like, it is what it is. That's what comes from being a public figure, being popular, having success, and being known for your political views and philosophical views and videos. You need to be able to not allow that to affect your commentary on other issues. And in this way, I kind of see this as similar to the cisgender gay people that are willing to throw trans people under the bus because they fear that the fight for trans rights might give ammunition to the right to then go after gay people who have...
I'm always tweaking. Do you even need to ask? I have restless leg syndrome, so I'm always shaking my leg down there, okay? someone's always like, okay, are you actually masturbating down there? That's up to you to decide, okay?
Been fighting alongside trans people, I might remind you, to attain the amount of rights and the freedom from harassment and violence that they have. Like, they don't want to see that go away and that progress be regressed on. I believe that's a valid fear, but it's not valid to allow that to affect your commentary and the way that you act politically in such a way that it makes it so that you're kind of willing to throw an oppressed group that you're not a part of aside for your own survival, I suppose. You need to be hardened enough as a political figure who engages in political commentary to be able to do that. And in my view, stopping the post here would have been the better way to do that. But now in my view at least, she's revealed that she's kind of willing, in the absence of no other argument for, oh, well, this might have been a better strategy, or this is what I think the left should have done, or should do going forward when it comes to the activism and organization and protest and commentary that they deliver, when it comes to wanting to see an end.
Asmgal already looks like he just finished masturbating, just decided to stream instead of clean up. Yeah, he looks like 39 incognito tabs. No.
To the genocide that the far-right nation-state of Israel, under the leadership of Netanyahu, is enacting against the Palestinian people. In absence of those arguments, it seems to me that you're willing to allow the valid fear and hurt that you have for your own safety and the safety of people you care about. It seems like you're willing to ignore the plight of the Palestinian people, which isn't.
Actually, is it wrong to ignore the plight of the Palestinian people? I mean, fuck, it's an entire fucking other country, dude. And there's no Americans there. Why should I care about it? Seriously. Why should I care about it? Like, fuck. Like, if you really want the cruel answer, I can give the cruel answer. You just won't like it. Like, do I want what's best for Americans? I do. Why should I care about any other fucking country? Fuck me, dude.
Right. I have an immense amount of compassion for people that fall victim to that kind of mentality. I would be lying to say that I might not have had thoughts about, like, oh, well, if only, you know, this genocide never happened, maybe it would have been easier for Kamala Harris to win, and then, you know, my HRT and whatnot, and the people I care about's existences, trans and queer people, black and brown people, etc., wouldn't be in the crosshairs of the Trump administration that ended up winning. But that's not the world we live in. Like, you can't. All this theory crafting doesn't really do anything in absence of that better strategy. So I don't let that thought process poison my views of other political issues. I don't allow that hurt that I feel to alter the way that I oppose a genocide. It's just, you have to be responsible enough to do that. And I think a lot of the malice, the discontent, the anger directed at primarily left-wingers in this post is emblematic.
Don't they live in Cal? Yeah, dude, why don't they, like, just join Hamas already? Why can't all these, like, fucking lefties join Hamas? Oh my god. Just go away, dude. Like, fuck. You don't contribute anything, dude. Like, Jesus.
Of
go and join
how,
Hamas already. Fuck.
In my view, that's what has provoked her to make the post in the way that she had. I think if you can understand how cisgender gay people fall victim to a mentality of, oh no, the fight for trans rights, which is a harder fight than the very difficult fight we've been fighting for XYZ reason, cultural smears that the right will levy at them, etc., they'll use that oppression of trans people against us as non-trans gay people. If you can see how cisgender gay people can fall victim to that and be willing to then just jettison trans people from the broader fight against bigotry against queer people, you should be able to see that within yourself as a trans person, if that's a thought process you've had about any kind of misgivings you might have about how the left protested against the genocide of the Palestinian people. It's like, we live in hell. There is no God. If there was one, they're either powerless or actively, like, malicious. We gotta make the changes that we want to see.
Dude, says the person who basically had a YouTube career handed by them by Vaush by getting his butthole fucked while being his, like, fuck buddy roommate, okay? And then, alright, and then we're just talking about someone who was handed like every single possible privilege in life, saying, yeah, everything looks fucking hopeless for me right now, by a problem of my own making, essentially, right? It's just like just the cringiest shit. Okay.
And one of the ways people are going to do that is a lot of the things that you're talking about being a negative here. Give us better strategy then. Spend more of your time arguing for better strategy to be used and practice what you preach when it comes to that strategy that you think might be better, to have the dual effect of fighting against the genocide and wanting to see it stopped, and also fighting against anti-transness and the actions being taken there. Because otherwise, it seems as if you're just kind of telling people to ignore it in favor of protecting people that are facing their own version of a genocide when it comes to trans people. But we'll finish the post. None of this is the fault of Palestinians, of course, who are overwhelmingly the victims here. I hope that someday American policy will shift in their favor, and I will continue to support that cause. TLDR, I see the situation as bleak, intractable, extremely divisive, and devoid of any element that could be appropriately transformed into political entertainment. That's why I haven't made a video about it. You could have just mentioned that, like, you didn't think that the way that you make videos would be appropriate to discuss the issue, and just maintained a very constant, stream of political statements on your other platforms against the genocide. As much influence as you have, and power to change minds as you have, as a public figure, as somebody who dabbles in political commentary, it often does feel like you should have a take on literally everything, and you should make that take the forefront of your commentary, given whatever...
But she does have a take. But her reasons for not making that take in public or presenting it in public is completely valid. That's the thing. She knows how cringe pro-Palestinian protesters are. I've never seen a single example of pro-Palestinian protesters not being cringe. Like, they've just been being cringe. It's just me, but this feels like fuck all. Like, I'm biting into a burger made out of air. I don't know if they're tongue and pacing and talking, but I can't. Nah, I think what Conyer is like... I think that it's just mainly because Vaush made like a statement on ContraPoints, so Conyer basically thought, yeah, since Daddy Vaush made a video on like ContraPoints, I guess I'm allowed to do that as well. Like, I just think that they probably thought it like that.
The current thing that people see as being, horrible is. I get that. But sometimes, like, it's completely valid to not, in your primary engagement with the public, use your platform in that way. Obviously, the ideal would be you could, but I could see why one wouldn't want to. But there are other ways you can. And, I don't know, my hope is that somehow a lot of the speculation and assumptions that I've made, because it's all I can do, I can't talk to her personally, I don't know her personally, don't end up being correct on the more negative assumptions that I've made given the content of this post. I hope that a lot of good faith criticism makes its way from people she cares about, not nobodies like me, and she's able to see that point of view, even if she doesn't change her opinions or whatever. At least, like, understand where people are coming from and where people's disappointment at a lack of a response and the subsequent negative response that this post has received is coming from. It's just, she's a content creator that I respect the work of. And you want to see people not have to deal with things like this, even if it is, in part their own doing. But if it does continue to be the case that her focus remains on the way left-wingers are protesting against a genocide, rather than focusing her energy on people who have actual power, elected representatives, and moving the needle there, then, like, it's just going to be a constant amount of respect and legitimacy that's lost. And I mean, if you're okay with that, if you're fine with members of your community not, like, coming back for the next video or whatever, or, like, seeing you in a different light, then, such is life. But I would like to think that you wouldn't want that to be the case. I would like to think that even if people in your community...
Why does this person sound like a mafia boss? Like he's essentially going like, he's essentially saying, you better fall in line, or something bad, something very unfortunate might happen to you. Like, that's kind of what it feels like. That's kind of what it feels like. It kind of feels very sinister, Like, a mafia boss implying that, oh, maybe you'll just have a little bit of a car accident. Maybe your brakes just won't stop working. Maybe your car will blow up while you're driving it, you know? It kind of sounds like that. And in a way, can I just say, like, this is all over, like, one of the most mundane Israel-Palestine conflict statements I've ever seen. Like, it wasn't even close. Like it wasn't even close how nothing burger ContraPoints statement was. And yet, at the same time, it's not enough for people like Conyer, right? I mean, Conyer is a little bit less extreme than Hassan, for sure. However, there might as well be no difference at all, because the way that I kind of see this is Conyer is saying, you got to fall in line exactly. You got to talk about this in an actual video. We have to be entitled to what kind of content that you make. And I hope that your friends are able to convince you. Otherwise, we're going to kill you. That's kind of what it feels like. But yeah, maybe I'm a little bit too extreme, but that's just kind of what it genuinely feels like.
Community disagreed with your takes on a specific issue, you'd be able to convey those opinions that you have in such a way that it doesn't alienate.
Okay, all right, cool. So that's the end of that one.